to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. I feel like here's Johnny. You guys that are young that aren't going to even know what that means, right? Anyway, don't mind me and my shenanigans. I'm a little excited because this is a very special episode because I have the great honor of introducing you to Eileen Hahn, who happens to be my cousin. Now, I'm not going to lie. I adore her because of the woman that she is and the friend that she has been to me my entire life. But I'm pretty sure you're going to adore her in a short amount of time, too. You know why? Because Eileen has a very particular superpower. And you know what that is? It is helping you intentionally build an outstanding and, in Eileen's words, exceptional team, whether that is simply one employee or a dozen employees. I promise you're going to get a lot out of this episode. Eileen Hahn is a principal in the San Diego-based management consulting firm, Organization Effectiveness Consultants. She partners with leaders of organizations to establish new levels of performance, financial results, teamwork, and employee work passion. And she does this by examining current processes and systems, collaborating with the company leaders to implement changes which improve productivity and profitability. She works with organizations going through rapid growth, downsizing, mergers, acquisitions, restructuring, and cultural transitions. She facilitates succession planning, strategic planning, organizational change, joint problem solving, leadership development, and team building. In addition to all of this, Eileen designs C-suite selection and evaluation processes, and she works with boards of directors to develop, implement, and facilitate these processes. She is also a professional speaker and a university instructor. Some of her clients, national and international, include Fenton Company, The Wonderful Company, San Diego Padres, Ericsson Wireless Communications, Qualcomm, Pfizer, General Atomics, Occidental College, Brooklynn Museum, General Motors, Anheuser Busch, the Venetian and Palazzo Hotels, SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment, and LEGOLAND. Now you see why I brag about her. Now that you have an idea of what you're in for, before we get to it, let me just thank our sponsor, Article. From an ever-expanding collection of sofas and lounge chairs with performance-grade fabrics to bedroom, outdoor, office furniture, and decor, Article is an online-only furniture company inspired by mid-century modern style and Scandinavian simplicity. Please go to welldesign.article.com to learn about their products, their trade program, and their commitment to you and your interior design projects. That's welldesign.article.com. Alrighty, here is my conversation with my cousin, my love, Eileen Hahn. Hi, Eileen. Thank you so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Lou. It's so great to be on your podcast. I'm so happy to be here.
So I have to say, for any of you that are listeners from the very beginning and have listened to almost every show, you have probably a half a dozen times heard me mention my cousin, who helps me with managing my employees and managing my team and really thinking through some of the deeper layers and deeper processes that are required to be a good leader on your team. And this is my cousin Eileen. So I finally convinced her to come on the show. And I will just share with everyone here one of the reasons why it finally made sense for both of us. It always made sense for me, by the way. Is that you have heard me telling you over the last couple of months that my second book is coming out in the beginning of 2019. And it's the things I learned from a well-designed business, the Power Talk Friday experts. And Eileen is part of this book. She is writing this. I've said to her, you have helped me so much over the last 25, 30, 35 years with conversations about how to understand the different personality types that have worked for us over the years, how to motivate them, how to evaluate them, how to speak to them. And later today, there might be an opportunity for me to tell you a story that was the most dramatic experience that I had with Eileen helping me with this. And so Eileen is part of my Power Talk Friday book, and her chapter is called The Care and Feeding of Exceptional Employees. And so I'm so grateful that we're finally, and by the way, I will just say Eileen is my Aunt Honey's daughter. Now, you all know who my Aunt Honey is that I always talk about. That I've talked about your mother, Eileen, probably 30 times on the show. So tell us, the first thing that we're going to talk about here is that as managers, Eileen, we are always looking to do our very best, whether we're a solopreneur and we're hiring one employee, or we're like us at WindowWorks where we lead a team of 10 people. But you talk about exceptional employees. And I wonder, what do you think, what does that mean when you say, exceptional people, exceptional employees? What does it mean to you when you describe it to us?
Sure. There's three different facets to an exceptional employee. The first one has to do with their performance and production. So exceptional employees exceed your expectations in regards to the quality of work that they deliver, the production volume, and also the quantifiable business results. So whatever they do, whether it's something that they're working on, a document, talking to a customer, doing some type of production or volume, you're going to go, wow, this is more than I thought that was possible. The second is it's how they perform the job. They come to work every day with a positive attitude, and they love their work. It's interesting when you get to come to work and be yourself and just utilize your best strengths, it's enjoyable, it's fun. So they come to work with that enthusiasm, and because they enjoy their work and love it so much, they're willing to go above and beyond whatever's expected because they want the organization to succeed. So they're coming, they're using their best talents and skills, they're being exceptional at what they do. And then the third area is their impact on other people. They ignite cooperation and teamwork within your organization. And the way they do that is they're always happy to help and assist anyone in making the business more profitable or helping them to do a job or a task. And this inspires your team members to be more, to do more, and to really kind of achieve more, because they raise the bar for everyone in the organization. It's like, wow. This whirlwind person comes in and they're happy, they're effective, they're getting good results, they're producing high quality, they're nice to everyone, they're helping everyone. We're all about the success and organization, success of the team and the organization. And so it really excites the energy of the team.
So I'm just sitting here thinking, yeah, I want a lot of that in my life. Seriously, as business owners, this is what we want. We want to look at our people and just smile. It's like having happy kids, right? It's like, oh, everybody's happy. They're playing in the sandbox. Life is good. So the thing about it is, you said a particular sentence in there, and I know that you have helped me understand this. You said when your employee gets to do the kind of work that they love to do. So just because somebody applies for a job, it doesn't always mean that it's the right job for them, or maybe you're not clear on as the owner of your design firm, you're not clear on the job role, and so therefore you just sort of, throw everything at them and see what sticks. And people can get in grooves that are not their, I call it on the show, their zone of genius, right? Where they're working out of their superpowers.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, right?
Sure. That's what we want. We want to hire with specificity. We want to hire someone that specifically has those talents and skills, and it's their natural, like you said, superpower that they're going to come on board and do. And what happens sometimes is that companies don't take the time to really detail out and outline what they specifically want, and their selection process doesn't find out or explore if that person has those skills or not. And so they end up hiring people that maybe have done the job before or have some of the skills, but maybe not their strengths. And then they're trying to get this person to perform at an exceptional level where it's difficult for them, rather than coming and being their natural self where they can shine and be exceptional.
And the thing about this is that sometimes we're not actually aware ourselves as the person coming to the position of what our superpower is, right? Like we can think, some people have, first of all, some people have never even considered what makes them happy in a job and what doesn't. They're just looking at the salary. They're looking at the environment. Right. You know, they're saying, I want to be an interior designer someday, so therefore I want to work at an interior design firm, right? Or right. I want to own my own firm someday, so I want to work at a design firm. But there are many, many roles within an interior design firm, and just applying to work at a design firm doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily apply for or receive the job that is best suited to you as a person.
Right.
And so what do you think about that? I mean, we have these tests, like, I don't know, Briggs-Myers and all these other things. You know, you that's your world, your language, you know these tests. Do you suggest that, I don't even know, Eileen, because you've always done it for me as a favor. Are these tests expensive for principals to invest and have their employees do, so that, or their potential employees, or is it even legal to ask a potential hire to fill out this test and do these personality assessment tests, these strength finders tests?
Right. So tests are, personality assessments or hiring selection assessments can be very helpful tools. And I'll talk about them in a moment. Mm-hmm. But I want to give you an example of kind of where do you start with this, right? So you want to hire with someone that's exceptional. And the first principle is we want to hire them with specificity. So let me give you an example of a theme park. Okay. I was working with a theme park, and they're one of many theme parks within this group. And this particular theme park was not meeting its sales goals. And it was one of these circumstances where, like, you know, the price of theme park entry into a theme park is very high. There was a lot of competition in this particular city and market that people had choices of where to go. And it was a particularly rainy summer. And so, you know what that's like. That limits your days in terms of how many people will show up and come. And so the director of sales says to me, I really need to hit my sales targets. We're not going to with the current staff that we have and the way that we've been doing things. And so I need to hire, you know, some 3 really top-notch salespeople that are going to come in and help me hit these sales numbers, help me hit these targets. And so I said, well, you know, how have you done that in the past? And they say, well, I typically hire people that are warm and outgoing, that have some type of sales experience, and that just really love the park and can represent us well. And so, but I'm realizing that that's just not working. And I said, okay, what do you want your salespeople to do? What kind of background and experience do you want your salespeople to have? What do you want them to be able to do when they're on the job? And let's be really specific about it. And she talked about, you know, specific, you know, coming up with new, you know, prospecting methods to get new clients, and taking the existing clients that they have and really growing the revenue with each one of those accounts, and coming up with, you know, creative marketing strategies and partnerships with other organizations to increase revenue. And so she came up with some specific things that she were hoping these sales reps would have the skills and ability and experience to do. And we said, okay, let's create a really specific selection process so that when we interview people for sales reps, that you really are able to get the person that has the skills that you need. And we'll also build into the sales process a series of actual sales calls. So you're not just going to hear about how they've done and what they've done, but you're going to actually see them in action 3 different times. The first time, we're going to have them sell themselves. The second time, we're going to have them sell the past product or service that they've sold in the past. And the third, they're going to come and they're going to sell the theme park based on everything that they've known and experienced so far. And so you're going to be able to see directly if they have these skills. And when you see them sell, you know as a sales director that there's 5 key things that every successful salesperson does in a sales call. And if this person doesn't do those 5 things, then you know that they're not at that level, right, of kind of quality and exceptional salespeople. And there's also what I like to think about as one special ingredient or special sauce in every sales call. And if you do this particularly well, then you know that person's going to be exceptional. And that thing I like to think of as the painting a picture, right?
Right.
Painting the picture for the customer so they can see themselves using the product or utilizing the services.
Right.
And
imagine what it would be like when you this, right?
Right.
Right.
And so we created this very specific selection process to ensure that they had the skills and were able to do these specific tasks. And they put a number of people through the process. They hired 3 sales reps. They were amazing. They hit their sales target that year. And the park performed so well in terms of increased sales and revenue that kind of the parent company of all these theme parks said, you know what, we want to take this specific selection process and we want to have all of our theme parks use it because we want to raise the bar on all of the sales reps that we hire, throughout the nation, and we want to increase our revenue. And so they did.
And so was it a matter of that once you help this company identify these things that they actually truly wanted, because this woman went from, I'd like them to, be outgoing and and have an interest in my park, to these more specific things as far as being able to market it to our existing clients, be able to find new avenues. And so it went from, like, as you described, from general to specific. And then you discussed the skill sets and how you wanted to observe them in the sales process. In this particular case, was it a matter of interviewing 8, 10, 15, 20 people to get these 3 people that fit all of these criteria? Because that's a pretty specific criteria. That's the point, right?
Yes, it takes time. And so if I told you it was going to take, going through and interviewing 10 people to find some exceptional person that's going to come on and get the business result, you'd be like, no problem, happy to do it, right?
Right. It's interesting. So tell me about when you just mentioned again, finding the exceptional person. Are we born exceptional? Can you create something exceptional in an employee? Like how does that work?
Right. It's interesting. Are they born or made?
Right.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. The first thing I believe is that every person can be exceptional in a job if they're in a job that's aligned with their natural talent, skills, and gifts. So everyone can be that, right, in a job. But the second thing is you can hire an exceptional person, but then it's up to the company to provide the right care and feeding of that employee that will keep them and that will also enable them to grow and flourish. And let me give you an example of that. There was an exceptional young man who had been a superstar in his prior 2 organizations. I mean, he was known for producing high quality results, for thinking outside the box, for kind of bringing creative ideas, for accomplishing large volumes of work. And he was also just great at building and developing relationships. And so his new employer was a very busy entrepreneur. And he let the young man know right away. He said, I don't have a lot of time to spend with you. And so my management style is really kind of like throwing you into the deep end of a pool and letting you swim until you scream to come out. And so, but you're talented, you've got the skills, you can do the job. Okay.
Right.
So the young man says, okay, I'm gonna give it my best shot. So the young man and the entrepreneur, they meet weekly. And at the weekly meetings, the entrepreneur says, here's the goals and things I need you to accomplish. He's very, direct and candid, and tells them what needs to get done. In between those weekly meetings, the young man receives a few curt emails, and the emails typically either point out an error of something that he's done, they suggest a course correction for a project or whatever they're working on, or just kind of focusing in on what the priorities are. The emails don't contain any coaching, teaching, compliments, or come from a place of kindness and care. And so the employee is there for about 4 months, and he accomplishes a lot of goals. And I say to the entrepreneur, how did that employee do for you? He says, he was satisfactory. But the question was, why was this employee that was so exceptional at other places and so exceptional and truly had the skills, right, to do this job? Why wasn't he exceptional or a superstar at this company?
Well, I know because you taught me.
Well, tell me, what is it? Why?
Because he wasn't managing him in a style that really brought out and made him feel valued and cared. So he was doing his technical job and he was good at his technical job, but where he needs to be fed and cared for, like you said, is not that direct, just give you an order and move on. That's a different type of person would respond to that, right? But not this person, right?
Right.
It's so interesting. You've taught me that.
Well, thanks. So it's the care and feeding. It's the coaching, right? It's the kindness. And it's interesting. I mean, research studies have shown that when you treat people with kindness, right? There's actually, Stanford research that says, being a kind boss pays off, right? That when you treat your employees with kindness, that they actually, provide better customer service. They increase productivity because the kindness that you extend to them, they extend out to your customers, and they also extend out to their fellow employees. So the whole environment that of your team is kinder and pleasanter and more helpful.
Right.
Because you're kind to your people. I mean, people used to have this fallacy that be a tough, stern boss and keep them in line, whip them into shape, keep them in line. But research really says that that's actually not true.
Right. It's interesting because I have to say a lot of times as the owner and the leader of our company, there are many challenges that we face, and the employees are one of the biggest challenges. I mean, we often on the show talk about the challenges that we have with our clients, but for any of the designers listening that have employees, we know that at least I have to say, I think that's the bigger challenge because of this, because if you take pride in it, because if you care about the people that work for you, and because if you do really want to see them do their best. And I have this theory that I feel like, and it's funny because I don't think I've ever discussed this with you before, but I'm curious and I'm going to go out on a limb on air here. But I have this theory that innately, now, any person who's motivated to be taught to be a good leader, a good boss, a good owner of a company can be taught if they're motivated to learn, right? But I feel like innately women have a leg up on that. And my theory on it is because innately I'm always looking for harmony as opposed to just saying it's my way or the highway. It ultimately is my way or the highway, okay, because my name is on the door and my responsibility is there, but I never come at it that way. I always feel like it's like when the kids are little, it's like, well, could it be their idea that they're going to bed at 8 o'clock and we're all happy? Or, my husband, could it be his idea that we do this, And it's like, I just feel like that we're sort of wired to be more empathetic and consider if the other person is happy in the process of doing what they're doing. Am I completely wrong because I'm not a man and that all my men listeners are going, stop, I'm that way too?
Well, I don't personally think of it as a gender issue as much as I think of it as an orientation. Like it's a people orientation.
Okay.
So some people have different personality styles where they have an orientation towards thinking about people, right? And like you said, relationships, working together in harmony. Other people's orientation is kind of more on task, right?
Okay.
Or the result. And so when you approach a situation, when you walk in, I could walk into a problem and I could say, okay, let me tell you how to solve the problem. This, and this, right? It's kind of like that entrepreneur. He came in, he's like, hey, I just give the facts. I just tell you the way it is. I'm being clear and candid because it's all about just getting the job done. Right? Whereas another person would say, okay, you sent these emails, you've done this work that's on target or isn't, but before I talk to you and communicate, I'm going to think about how to best communicate this to you in a way that will feel kind and comfortable and will help you get better.
Okay.
And so it's putting first in your mind the people orientation before putting first the task orientation.
Okay.
So both genders can have one orientation or the other. It really, it doesn't matter. Okay. It's just a matter of that person's orientation when they go in and talk to the employee. Okay. Do you have that in your head? And sometimes when you're busy and you're frantic, right, with work and things got to get done now, you might just come right at them with the task. Hey, this is wrong. This needs to be changed. We got to make this happen right now.
Right. And it's funny because I can think of times when it's not my MO to be that way, but of course, like you said, there's moments where you're not your best self. And I actually see it in my employee's face if I do that. I actually see their face. I can picture a moment when I've done it to Kimberly or Adriana, and their face is sort of like, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? And then I literally say to myself, okay, maybe you need to take a breath. These are people that you love, people that you admire, people that you respect. Okay, bring it down a notch, let's rephrase, you know what I'm saying? But it does usually come in moments of stress. And that's also, I think, exceptional employees. Also, I have noticed that they forgive that too. If I push through one or two sentences of it, I can actually recall times when Kim, for example, in particular, will say, okay, we've got a lot happening here now. What can I take off your plate so that this can get handled and we can take, you know what I mean? So she actually intuitively almost sees. It's like, maybe she's just self-preserving there.
No, it sounds like there's deep trust.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like she knows you care and you do, right? And when you have established that trust and care with your people, it goes a long way. Right.
No, they do. They are very good. They give benefit of the doubt and so forth. And so it's good. It goes to that, how important it is to build a great team, even if it's a team of you and one other person, probably even more so if it's only you and one other person, to not just have a technical way of hiring and interviewing, but to have a more thoughtful process about how to find that person that is truly right for that job.
Right. And when I sat down, we were talking about, the next book and writing this chapter, I wanted to think about, for all of the, owners and leaders out in business that maybe have never had formal leadership training and then they're saying, I'm really good at what I do. I have this wonderful vision and goals I want to accomplish. I need to bring on people to help me do that. How can I hire someone exceptional and keep them? What are the key principles that if I followed, I could do that? And that's kind of what I articulated to make it easy to say, wow, I didn't realize that some of these things really make a difference and go a long way in terms of keeping that exceptional person or developing that exceptional person.
Right. And so, of course, your chapter will express all of the steps so that they can step by step go through it. But do you want to share one or two of the steps with us that might be helpful for somebody going through it right now and really can't wait till February for the book?
Sure. So we talked about the first one, right? Hire with specificity. The second one is articulate the exceptional. So you want someone exceptional. And so the question is, have you told them what exceptional looks like? Have you had a chance to get very clear and vivid about what it looks like in your organization? So I was working with a national franchisor, and they owned hundreds of franchises throughout the United States, either owned or serviced, hundreds of them. And they noticed that a very small percentage of franchises at the very top were like 3 to 4 times more productive and profitable than all the other franchises. And so the franchisor decided, why is that so? I'm going to go find out. So he contacted the franchisees and he said, what are you doing that makes you so successful? And he really wanted to pinpoint what these were doing differently so that everyone could do that and bring up the productivity and profitability. And so they interviewed these franchisees, they interviewed their staff. We observed these franchisees in action and really looked at, how do what are these behaviors? How do you know if people are doing them or not? How do they figure into the daily work and how they generate productivity and profit? And they got super clear on these things. And they developed a program in which franchisees that weren't in that segment were able to come. And they taught them these 13 leadership strategies. And they taught them, they learned them, they developed them, they started to execute them. And long story short, that segment of franchisees in that group ended up with a 29% higher gross margin than the company average and generated over $30 million in gross revenue over the company average because they were taught and learned and executing these 13 leadership strategies.
Wow. I mean, and that is the bottom line there, why this conversation is important and why I really have wanted for a very long time for you to come on and share, because do you find now you're so accustomed to working with these large corporations across the U.S., but the fact of the matter is it's in my opinion, it's actually more critical for a designer that might have 1 or 2 or 3 employees, and definitely 10 or 15 employees, because there's no room for wasted time and energy and expenditure. And there's no room for an employee that's not in their right role and being tasked with the things that they are joyful about doing. And not only is there no room for that because there isn't enough of other people to pick up the slack, right, when somebody is underperforming, but when you institute these things and you do find an exceptional employee and you do develop and care of and feed them, then your profit is so dramatically affected. And that's your quality of life. That's your standard of living. It's not just a line on a profit and loss statement to a big corporation, right?
Right. And so, for your business, you might say, okay, what does an exceptional, salesperson look like? Mm-hmm. What do they do? How do they behave? How do they execute? And you might, say, wow, they might hit this number or do this many sales calls, but how do they do the sales call? Right? What do they do when they're on the call? And do they know what exceptional looks like? And it's kind of fun to go back after this call and to ask some of your employees, do you know what does it look like to be exceptional in your job? And each of the different functions that you do. And if they don't know, or if they aren't clear, can you role model it? And not only can you role model it for them, but can you have them do it and try it and practice and train them until they actually do it that way? That's exceptional.
Okay. When we think about the various roles within an interior design firm, typically, Eileen, the first hire for an interior designer is a bookkeeper / admin person. Mm-hmm. Okay. So sometimes when they get a little bigger, then often, and even from the beginning, sometimes the bookkeeper could even be a virtual bookkeeper, right? So it might not even actually be in their firm as an employee, but a sub that they hire out, right? But if they hire in, often that bookkeeper can share the role of answering the telephone and doing some admin duties, okay? So looks a couple of different ways if possible of looking a couple of different ways. The other role is usually of a junior designer, somebody that our interior designer, our principal, the owner of our firm is the one who has the meetings with the clients, is the one who has the big vision, the overall vision of the project, is the one who has the meetings, possibly most of the meetings with the vendors. And the junior is now the one who is executing a lot of the details, finding 3 tiles to show the principal and say, which of these 3 do you like and which one do you want to present to the client, yada, yada. You can visualize this process, right? And then you also get into sometimes designers in their firms have the CAD drawers and the people that do all the technical stuff, right? So there's a lot of different skill sets happening here. And so what you're suggesting is to sit and think for yourself as the principal what the definition of exceptional is for each of these roles, and then have a conversation and ask your employee if they can identify it, or do you just sit down and say, I'd like to share with you first what I believe exceptional is in this role?
Well, I like to find out what they think first.
Okay.
Always starting with them. How do you see this role? What do you think exceptional performance looks like in this role? When you're working on our monthly statements, what does exceptional look like? When you're gathering, the design options for a customer and you're putting them together, what would be an exceptional way of doing that? When you do that, when do you really feel like, wow, that's a wow, right? What is it about that? Okay. And let them tell you that, because that will draw upon their strengths and build their confidence. And then you can reinforce that and say, yeah, that's it. And here's a couple other things to add to it. Okay. Right. And so then you're coming from strength and building that strength within them. And sometimes, I've had so many people and leaders that, they don't know if they're doing exceptional. They're like, I'm just doing the best I can. I think it's good. Until someone tells them, yes, that thing you do when you do this, it's really great. They're like, oh, okay, good. Right. And now they keep doing it. right? And so it's really kind of asking them to come out and kind of share what's naturally they're doing that's exceptional, adding to it, and then recognizing it when you see it. Wow, the way you pulled out these 3 design and options for the customer was amazing, because you had a spectrum like this, because the colors were different, because the designs were the same, whatever those things were that made it exceptional.
Well, and I think that's true when you said in there that sometimes somebody does something and they say, I'm doing it the best I can, but it doesn't occur to them that it's exceptional. Because very often when we are lucky enough to be working in our superpower, we don't realize that it is a little bit better than the next person who's a superpower it isn't. I say that to the designers all the time. One of the things that designers struggle with, Eileen, is charging their worth and charging what their value is. I've actually used, I have to say, I've used the example of when I finally came out to San Diego and helped you do your house, because you were asking me, I don't know if you even remember this, but you were asking me for randomly every 5 or 6 months, oh, come out and help me. Oh, you should come out and help me. And I wasn't really taking you seriously. I was like, she's just being nice. She's just being nice. You know what I mean? She doesn't really need my help, and blah, blah, blah. And then finally one day, I will never forget it. One day I am sitting at my computer. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and I get an email from you, and it says, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I think I found a designer to work with. This is the proposal that I received for my master bathroom. Would you just look it over? Just give me your once over and see that I'm on the right track, and, blah, blah, blah. And I look it over, and it's a proposal for accessorizing your master bath. And I email you. I'm like, wait, the only thing you need in your master bath is towels and candles, and you're like, yeah, I just want to make it look pretty. And I was like, all right, I'm getting on a plane. I'm like, and the thing is, that's not to disparage what an interior designer does. It's just that it's really to illustrate how it's so outside of your comfort zone and your talent skill. And I use that example a lot with the designers to express to them how valuable that is to somebody that they don't know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, all right, you're not asking me to move walls. I can accessorize your bathroom.
well, let me add on to that. So to expand on the story. So the story is, I have this house we remodeled, we tore it down, rebuilt it. It's all 2 stories, all white walls, the whole house. And I don't know what it is. Like you said, to me, it's a superpower to have design and creativity. And so the house is basically all white walls. I'm like, Luke, come, please, right? But by this time, we already had the tile in, right? We already had the tile in. There's some furniture pieces, but everything's wall, and there is no accessories in the whole house.
Right.
And again, it's like, where do I start? I know when I walk into like a model home or certain people's beautiful homes that it looks fabulous,
right.
But I'm sitting here with an empty house and I have no idea how to start. I know I want it to be coordinated and flow and look like it has a theme, but I don't know how to do that. Right. And so you come in and it's easy. And I am happy to spend, the money to have someone come in and do that, because it'll be exceptional. I know it will be, right? And the time it takes to think up the creative ideas, to find the materials, to deliver them, and to set them up in a way that looks amazing and exceptional is worth every penny of it.
Right. And that's what I use. When not only on the show, but in my one-on-one coaching and my group coaching with designers, I tell them all the time, do not overlook what you do so easily, so naturally, as not being a major talent and skill set, because it's easy for you. That is not how you price it. You don't price, well, that was really easy for me to do. No. Because it is, I say all the time, you're probably one of the smartest people I've ever known. But yeah, you weren't willing to pick out towels for your bathroom.
Right. It's not just that there's so many towels.
Well,
there's so many. And where do you go? And what color red? Or what color blue?
We love people like you. You keep the rest of us in business.
And are the candles supposed to match or be different? I mean, come on. And how many is too much? What's interesting is, here's something to think about for designers. If you've got someone that's willing to pay, like me, right, to pay for a designer, it's so far from their comfort zone, right? Because there's a lot of people, I think, there's the norm people that are comfortable just buying their own stuff for their home, right? And then there's the people that have amazingly beautiful homes because that's their high skill. But then you have the people that have no clue, right? And they know that, but they want beautiful and exceptional.
Right.
That's your niche. And those people will pay whatever you charge them as long as it's exceptional.
Right.
And
bring the value.
And I might be surprised. You might say, Eileen, it's going to cost you $50,000 to decorate and accessorize this house. And I might be like, really?
Yeah.
And you'll be like, yeah, that's what it costs.
It's actually three times that, but yeah.
Okay, whatever it is, right? And then you're going to say, but at the end of the day, it's going to be exceptional. And here's a few pictures of examples. And I'm like, I want my house to look like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
No, 200,000, I'll do it. Because then it's done once, it's done right, it's done well, it's exceptional. I just live in the exceptional zone.
Right. No, I love it. Like I said, I use you as an example often. And the thing is, what I love is, and now it's your zone is really taking apart personalities and helping, owners and leaders of companies and businesses really get very clear on what they need in an employee, what that role should look like for an employee, what skills are necessary to do that role exceptionally, how to identify that in a person, and then the final is to how to, like you said, you can have the person, that one example you used, that kid was a rock star salesperson, but if he's not managed in a way that makes him feel valued, all the other steps are good, but not outstanding. You need the final step, which is to really understand that how important it is as the owner of your company, that for your benefit, for the benefit of your entire company and your profitability and everything, is to take the time to learn these things so that you are an effective leader, right?
Right. And here's, Lou, there's an example I can give you that's very personal to me that really fits, whether it be a small business, medium business, any size. And it's one that really talks to the care and feeding of exceptional employees. I was working for the president of a small company that was growing, and he said, Eileen, we're going to meet quarterly. And every quarter, we're going to talk about your performance and, what you've accomplished. And I want you to come to the meeting with what you think your strengths are, what you think your development areas are. But I also want you to come with one thing that if you improved this quarter would make a positive impact on your productivity and the bottom line results of the company. Wow. I mean, that's a big question. I mean, how do you think of that? One thing that if you improved would make a positive impact on your productivity and the bottom line results of the company. So that in itself, had my head spinning for a while, right? I'm taking that, I'm thinking about.
Because this is also when you were younger. This is not now that you've been consulting many years. Right, exactly.
Yeah, this is 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
So I'm thinking about that, and I do my best, and I come to the meeting and I share, my strengths. And I was actually excited to hear him tell me what he thinks my strengths are. I thought that was kind of fun, right? How nice that is every quarter to hear about that, the development areas. And we talked about what I thought maybe one might be, and then he talked about his ideas, and we settled on something that we were going to work on to improve. And he said, now we're going to work, I want you to work on this over the next quarter, and I'm going to help you in these ways with this and to improve. I'm going to give you this kind of feedback. We're going to spend a little bit extra time at our monthly one-on-one meetings. But we're really going to put a concerted effort into doing this differently so that it increases productivity and profitability of this business. And so, he worked with me on that. He was like my partner, right? And each quarter we'd meet, and it was like, wow, I have someone, over the years that I worked for this man, my skill level, skyrocketed, right? I grew tremendously. It was focused on improving a skill every quarter, right? And my business acumen on what it takes to actually improve productivity and how it connects to the bottom line results of a business increased. That's why I was able to consult later on, right? Because I had this concept of understanding skills, activities, productivity, bottom line impact, right? All because this man was willing to work with me every quarter. I thought I was the luckiest person on earth.
You were.
Right? You were. And I mean that, and that's what you can do for your people. Right. If you have one person that reports to you, wow, you could have this meeting with them. You could help them improve their skill. They could say, whoa, I improved my skills because I had a coach working with me that cared.
Right.
I was so valued, right? I was like, unbelievable.
That is a tremendous gift that he gave you. And of course, in giving the gift to you, it returned to him in the right, for everything about his company. But when I think about that's a significant thing to do for somebody, both for them as a person, but for them as an employee. And you cannot underestimate that the time that it takes to do that. You say easily, one meeting a quarter, but I know what it's like to run a business. And you were talking about, this is a big firm that this guy owned. And, to take you were one of how many employees. And so, okay, I'm going to sit still for X amount of period of time every 3 months and focus on Eileen. That's amazing. It really is. And it's funny because I imagine your skills grew not only across the board, but in self-identifying what your next challenge was to overcome or to learn or to sharpen, right?
Exactly.
Right? You got better at evaluating
yes.
yourself as like,
Right,
okay, this is
right.
my next thing. Because I would think the first time you could almost come to it like, I don't know, you tell me what I got to do better, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But then sometimes I just, always filter it through WindowWorks and everything. And I'm thinking that if I were to institute this and share this gift with my employees, they probably, when you were describing it, they probably do have things that they know that they can improve on, but they feel like they need the help of me and Vin and Billy in order to access the ways to make that better, right? They need our cooperation. They need our buy-in on, I know that I could do this better but the if they need our agreement on in order to act on, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And you're right. If you are a solo firm with a firm with only one employee, my goodness, instead of a year later, that employee's like making marginal strides and being marginally more helpful to you over the course of a year, they would be so more skilled and so more valuable and so much better capable of taking on more and more responsibility over the course of a year, right?
Yep, definitely. And their job satisfaction, they're going to be happy. They're going to be satisfied. They're going to want to give more, right?
Right. Very interesting.
They're not going to go. They don't want to go anywhere. Where are they going to get a boss like this? Nowhere. Right.
It's true. I mean, and there's a whole nother side to this too. We're talking about the positive side of this. We're talking about when you, it's important to take serious thought to hiring as opposed to just you're breathing, you look good, you talk good, right?
Right. If you want exceptional, you have to be specific. You have to take time. Yeah.
There's another part of this, which is probably another show, but I'll just touch on it. There is another part of this of being an effective, inspiring leader, which is when you have an employee that's underperforming and there's a whole different evaluation process, I shouldn't even say it's a whole different, but there is an evaluation process that happens there. And we have many times over the years started our conversation, you and I, with, okay, is the goal to rehab this employee or is the goal to gently exit this employee? And so that's a whole nother skill set of when you find an employee who is underperforming and you want to keep them, you see something in them, and you can be counseled by a coach like you that has the skill set. And I'm telling you, I will give you a 20-minute rundown on what I determine, which is obviously biased, the personality of the employee, and then a 20-minute rundown on their job skills, another, 10 minutes on what's going wrong. And you just like bang, 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 right out with, okay, Lou, this is the thing. This is the personality. This is what you're doing. Every time you say this, they hear this. I'm like, but I don't mean that. You're like, I know, but that's what they hear. Right? Because when the style is completely different, and if I don't tune into that as the leader, then I leave them in the desert, like just looking around going, what happened here? I'm not being helped. I'm not being led. I'm not being nurtured. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. It's you have 11 steps that people can go through, 11 pivotal management principles that as owners of our companies that we can go through and really try and start to at least open your eyes to this part of being the manager and the leader of your company, right? And how important it is, and how a skill set like this, that if you cultivate as the leader, really will help you be more profitable. Because even a more productive employee is more profitable, but less turnover is more profitable.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, the training time, every time somebody leaves and they're not happy, or you feel like you're constantly not finding the right person, or always having to let somebody go because they're not living up to your expectations. A lot of it is just not having found the match, the right match for the skills, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think I recall in earlier Window Works days, in the beginning, I would often make the mistake. I always look at this mistake because it was so, in hindsight, it's so obvious. But as a younger entrepreneur, we made it probably 4 or 5 times before finally the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, hello. And so what I would do is I would be searching for the person to be our showroom coordinator. The showroom coordinator is a person who's going to come into our office every day at 9 o'clock, be there till 5, answer the telephone, make appointments for the salespeople, make appointments for the installers, interact on the phone with the clients and the vendors. That's what this person's primary role is. And for several years in the beginning, and I'm just going to say it, I was in my 20s when I was a young entrepreneur. But I would often make the hire of someone who was like me, that was outgoing and it was extroverted and, it was blah, 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 and this and that and the other thing. And so then when they really didn't want to buckle down and do those numbers all day long, or they were talking to people who came into the showroom for 20 hours instead of 20 minutes, I would be like, my God, like, you're not getting your work done, I would think to myself. But I was hiring somebody who has the skill set for a salesperson, not for an admin. You can't make me an admin because I want to slit my wrist if I was an admin. Right? And so I remember that hindsight. I remember that lesson when it finally hit me. I was like, you want a nice, quiet, introverted person who wants to come in here and do their work and go home at the end of the day. That's who you want. You don't want somebody who's always looking at the door going, who else is coming in? Let's have a conversation.
Right. You want someone who cares deeply about being thorough and doing the details well.
Yes, that's not me.
And producing that high quality result.
That's right.
And that's patient. Right?
That's right.
And calm.
Right. Do any of these things sound like me? No.
Accommodating, helpful.
But that's really one of my objectives for having this particular episode, is that if you are out there and you have been struggling with your recent hires, or you have somebody on your team now that you feel like there's something there that you're just not able to get them to break through to be exceptional, then to understand that a lot of it, most of it, is on your shoulders to create the environment and the way for these people, your people, to succeed. It's not, hey, they just don't do it. It's another situation where you got to look in the mirror and figure out the way to do it. Right, Eileen? Right.
And one of the points, train thoroughly, is a big one, because I've seen people that are exceptional that haven't had the thorough training. And once they go back and have that, wow, they explode and do amazing work.
And that is also,
they've been there.
Yeah, that is also an Achilles heel of a small business owner too, I have to say, in compassion and empathy, is it's tough to train thoroughly. In other words, you have to do that with intention, and it's not easy. And I have to say, it does pay off. I've mentioned also on the show many times that Kimberly came in my car with me every day for 3 years before she went on her own window treatment appointments. That's a long time. But that was a nice, thorough training. And that was the first time in all our years in business that I gave someone that length and that breadth and that depth of training. Because, in your earlier years, you're busy. And you're just like, okay, I showed it to you 3 times. Are you ready? Go. But it has proven to be worth every minute of those 3 days, because she is an exceptional employee. She truly is. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yay.
great. It's great. No, it's great. I love it. I love it a lot. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that it's amazing. I'm such deep admiration of your skill set as an intuitive coach and leader and a consultant who really is so on point and zeroes in. I've never had a conversation with you that in literally 10 minutes you didn't have me saying whoa. So I'm really looking forward to having you part of this new book, and I know that for my buddies out there listening, you're going to bring a lot of value. And Eileen, is there a place that people can reach you if they have questions or?
Yes. A few things. First of all, if you are interested in a free download of the Care and Feeding of Exceptional Employees, and you want to know what are those 11 points and what do they mean, you can go to my website at oecstrategicsolutions.com and get the free download of what these principles are. I also have, for a very limited time, an opportunity for a 30-minute consult. If there's points on here you want to talk about, employee issues, for a very reduced price at this time, kind of connected with the podcast. So I'm happy to talk with all of you on phone. And also you can always email me. So, Hahn at OEC Strategic Solutions.
OECstrategicsolutions.com is the website. Yeah, so this download is there, guys. I mean, at the very least, grab that, give it some thought, because I'm speaking from experience. This is one of the I actually find it very interesting as well. It is a very effective way to make the most of your team, to help to make the most of you as a leader of your team, and all of these things improve your profitability and your bottom line. And as I say, it's important when you have a 500-person company, but it's extremely important when you have a 1 or 3 or a 5-person company, right?
Yeah. Yes. And you can have an entire team of exceptional people. I've seen it. I know organizations with all exceptional people, and it is fun. It's exciting. It's energizing. Yeah. They're high-fiving in the halls. People are smiling, and they're doing great work. And that's how they think of themselves. It's like, we're an exceptional company. We hire all exceptional people. And wow, the energy and bar and enthusiasm, it just explodes. And these companies are highly profitable and growing.
Yes.
So you can do it.
Yes, you can. And the thing about it is it's the chess game. It's putting people in the right spot so they can be their most exceptional self. That's the enlightening part of it, and that's what I love. And the reason that I just took a minute to say that after that is because that's the part that makes it possible for any one of us to do this. It's not, I would need to be able to pay everybody $150,000 or $200,000 a year to have exceptional team members. No, it's the trick and the key, the strategy is putting people in the places and in the positions and the jobs that they love, because now their exceptionalness just pours out of them.
Right. It's natural. They're using their natural tanks.
And they're loving it. I love it. Well, and I love you, Eileen. Thank you so much.
I love you too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I have to say, biased or not, I 100% know from firsthand coaching that Eileen has done with me, Vin, and Billy, that she knows as the CEO, as the principal of your interior design firm, you are responsible for leading the business, leading the team as a team. But more important, as important, I should say, and which is often overlooked, is the huge responsibility of leading as individuals. Leading the actual individual person. Do you see the difference there? You can lead a team and just speak to the team on a weekly, monthly basis. But what Eileen talks about is leading individuals and how that leads to better team development and better teams. She gets it that you started your interior design business with a passion for design, a vision for where this business can go, and a mission of what you wanted to offer your clients. So when you add employees, doesn't it make sense that you need each one to understand your vision and your mission? And with that goal, Eileen explains when you take the time to thoughtfully hire, thoroughly train, and then care for each one as an individual, speaking to them, guiding them in their love language, it's not only how it exponentially increases the enjoyment and satisfaction of each employee, it has no other possibility other than to raise the success of your business. And I'll tell you what, completely by coincidence, I interviewed Janelle Fotopoulos of Blakely Interior Design days after interviewing Eileen. I mean, like literally a few days later. And Janelle's episode will go up next Tuesday. And I want to say to you, if you wonder the value and the impact that Eileen's message can have on your interior design business, listen to Janelle's show next week. I said it was a coincidence, and it truly was. But if I were looking to follow up this show with a living, breathing example of the proof of her message, that is the actual show. Tune in and see how, when Janelle applied these exact same strategies by getting coaching on these strategies, her firm grew, her profits grew, and most importantly, the happiness, the camaraderie, and the cohesiveness of her team flourished. All right. Eileen is extremely intuitive, insightful, and when she works with you, I promise you, she effortlessly helps you understand how your personal and your business values guide you and how and why this is important to your business. It has been my great honor to have her help us over the years at WindowWorks. I have to say, I've mentioned it to you on the show. I've mentioned to you previous episodes about Eileen. I've never called her out by name, but this is the woman that I have often spoke about it. So if you've been listening from the beginning, you know I have talked about her before. And this is something, like I said, listen to Janelle's show next week. When you hear the combination of these two shows together, if you're not inspired to be the best business owner that you can be by committing to, like Eileen says, the care and feeding of your employees, I don't know. Then you're not listening. That's all I'm going to say. Because for me, it just makes me want to be a better boss. It makes me want to learn to understand how best to utilize each person's gifts that work for me and acknowledge those gifts and help them develop those gifts. So that is the big message of this show, okay? Look for Eileen's chapter in my new book coming out in February, The Things I Learned from a Well-Designed Business, the Power Talk Friday Experts, okay? All righty, what is your decision today? Make it a good one. All you need is one decision each day, one tiny action. They don't have to be big decisions. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, okay? Maybe it's just a decision to look at your team as individuals and see how you could better care for them, okay? Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannniagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.